And he looked at me and he said, "Mr. Muse, I'm sorry, but both of your children have passed away here at the scene in an accident."
Just tell us your story.
Well, it's a long story. It's not a great story, but a story nonetheless. So when I was young, I got married pretty young, about 25, married to Pam Flynn. We had these two wonderful kids, Dustin and Courtney, and it was as rough as in any early marriages. And Pam and I unfortunately got divorced when the kids were both 7 and 3. So we got divorced, and then I had these two young kids. I was on my own. I had 2 new Subways. Wasn't really making any money. I was having a 10 bar at night and make it work. But I had these 2 unbelievable kids that I really clung to, and they got me through some very difficult times at that time. And then about 3-4 years later, I met Kristi Kincaid, and Kristi and I got married. And Kristi right away got along with the kids, became a family. We moved out here to Leesburg in 2001, and we had a daughter, Madison, unbelievable kid. We had Madison on January 28th, 2002, and life was good. We were in a new neighborhood, met about 10 couples that we became very good friends with, still very good friends with. We had parties that were legendary back then for neighborhood. I built a bar downstairs in the basement, a full bar that had 4 TVs, 2 disco balls wired into the ceiling. It was a functional bar. It's like if you walked into a restaurant, and we called it Club D. And it's where we're adults at that time. We were all in our 30s and early 40s, went to act like juveniles. And Club D was great. You could walk in, and we had religiously at Halloween, we had New Year's parties, and we had St. Patty's Day parties, and every now and then we'd have something else. But it was a place where we went to act stupid, and it was exactly what you imagined. It was, people having sex in the bathroom, people breaking my stools because they were too fat, and people goofing on them when they did, people pissing out in my yard, throwing up over the fence, breaking my fence on the way out. We would have 40, 50 people down there. We had a little playroom on the side where we shoved the kids into Maddie's little dress-up room, and it was an unbelievable place at that time and in that part of our life. And it was good. It was a good time, man. Things were good. My businesses were going well, and just things were awesome. And then December 6, 2006, which is my current wife, Kristi, it was her birthday. Dustin's mom called and wanted to know if they could stay up there that day. It was a normal Wednesday. That was one of my normal overnight nights. And I was like, no, it's Kristi's birthday. We're going to the Japanese steakhouse. Just have him come down. So I called Dustin. He stopped off at his girlfriend's house, and then he was going to get a card and come down. It was an ordinary night, man. It was, I talked to him at 5 or 4:30. He was on his way. Maddie and I, Kristi was late for getting home from work. We were waiting for her. Madison and I were sitting on the couch. We were going to be there at 6. We were watching Madagascar. I'll never forget that. And we were sitting there, and about 6:20, I was like, what the hell's going on? Where's Dusty? He's never late. So I called his phone. Nothing. Called his phone again. Nothing. Called his phone again. Nothing. So at 6:45, I started to get a little freaked out. And so I called the police to see if there was any report of any accidents going on. Nothing. Let's just go. Kristi was home. I was starting to get pissed because I was just thinking I was going to rip into him because the kid is never late. And they were in my Jeep coming down. And by the way, I'm just to back up a minute. The night before this, that Tuesday, Dustin came down just to babysit his sister. And we were standing outside in the driveway. He asked if he could use my Acura. And so that night I just told him, I just said, hey man, listen, just take the Jeep. I got too much shit in my car. I'll just see you tomorrow for, Kristi's birthday. So we hugged, which he never did. We hugged in the driveway, and he left. So that night, he came back. I started to get a little concerned, and Kristi got home, and I told her, I was like, listen, we got to get the fuck out of here. Let's go there. I'll just tell Dustin. I sent him a text, said, hey, meet me at the restaurant. And so we start out towards the restaurant, and for some reason I was like, you know what, let's let's just go backtrack a little bit because they were coming down Route 15. So, Kristi and I and Madison were in the Acura. We started heading up Route 15 just to see what's going on, and from the distance you can see all these flashing lights. And Kristi's like, "Oh, look, see, they're probably stuck in traffic. His phone's probably dead. Everything's fine, Don." So I looked at her and I said, "No, something's wrong. I know something's wrong." And I just knew. I don't know how I knew. You just know. Came up and went to pull over the car. I almost didn't stop the car to get out. It was still rolling. Kristi yelled at me and I got in. I stopped it. And there was probably 30 vehicles, fire trucks, cops, everything. So I got out and I went down to the very end. There's young firemen standing there. I'll never forget this. You know, I walked over and I was like, "Hey, listen, tell me there's not a green Jeep Wrangler involved in this accident." He looked at me and he said, Can you come with me?" And I walked in and Troxel was standing down there, the police chief and this EMT lady. And this guy talked to him for a second. He turned and he said, "Sir, can I see your ID?" So I gave my driver's license. And he was like, "Is your son Dustin Muse?" I said, "Yes." "Tell me nothing's wrong." He said, "Was there a passenger with him?" I said, "Yes, Sister Courtney." And he looked at me and he said, "Mr. Muse, I'm sorry, but both of your children have passed away here at the scene in an accident." And I turned to walk down, and this woman, a little bigger, she grabbed me and she held me tight. She's like, "Honey, you don't want to go down there." And so at that point, I mean, my world got dumped on its ass. At that second. Life got hard. As a parent, you're never prepared for anything like that, obviously. So I just started making calls right out of the gate. And probably the hardest call was I had to call Pam and tell her her two children were dead. And she fainted in the car. That next day, I went out to the site, the accident site, and I just stood there. I was looking at it, I'm thinking, what the fuck happened? How could you do it? It was this accident happened at 6 o'clock at night on December 6, 2006. They were going 45 miles an hour. They had their seatbelts on. And there was no drugs, no alcohol. He wasn't on his phone because he had a shitty razor back then. And if you were texting, it saved every letter that you had entered at that point. So I checked all that out. I still have his phone. It's sitting in my desk. And there was nothing wrong. The investigation, the autopsies, everything was perfect. There's just no explanation. So they came down right here, man. So Dustin knew he missed the exit. He went to pull off, and he hit that tree, and it kicked it. Tire kicked it, and then he died on that tree right there. That's it. That's the one. I got him. Because these two, they almost got him right. See there's breaking the tree bark. You see it right in the middle of that big tree?
Oh, okay.
Come here. On this side right here.
Oh yeah, how it stopped.
That's it right there. That's the one.
Damn.
There.
Yeah.
Like, look at how deep it is.
It's like a couple feet.
But I wouldn't look.
You wouldn't?
No, I wouldn't look. No way.
Why not?
Because I knew. You know, it's weird, man. I don't know how to explain it. It's just, I knew they were dead.
Yeah.
I asked Kristi, I knew something was wrong. She was like, "Don, look, they're stuck in traffic. Dustin's phone is dead." I was like, "No, something's wrong."
Yeah.
I got out of the car, didn't even stop the car. You just know, man. I was something inside of me that told me that it was bad. And hearing those words, and walking down and hearing Troxel say, "Mr. Muse, I'm sorry. Both of your children have passed away here at the scene." That was it, man. Those words stick in my head. I hear them every day. The funeral was it was the worst. Literally, it's probably one of the worst moments of my life was pulling away from that gravesite, being there with two coffins, and watching. And from the road, I could see them being lowered in, and it just like it's a terrible feeling to have to, stomach. We could do a whole tape on the shit people say to you once your kids die. It's a great saying. Well, God needed a couple more angels. Really? Fuck you. God needed 2 more angels. How about I take your head and stick it up that guy's ass? This is the best. Every time I run into somebody, even now, if I haven't seen in a long time, how are you? You okay? You know, no, dude, I have 2 dead kids. What else? You know, I mean, well, they're in heaven now. They're in God's hands now. Fuck. That helped. Thank you. Don, I'm so sorry for your loss. If I hear I'm so sorry for your loss one more time, I'm gonna kick somebody in the balls. I know you're sorry for the loss. But as the weeks and months went on, you know, less and less calls, flowers die, and suddenly you're just back to your life. So then you start that next year. You start on a year of first. This was the first Christmas without him. Well, Christmas wasn't great that year. New Year certainly wasn't great. So that summer comes. I can start going down a hole of, you know, doing a little bit of coke here to doing 8 balls to doing 1 8-ball a week to doing 2 to doing 3. Now you're talking about a lot of coke use, $1,000. I was spending $1,000 a week for a couple months on this stuff, maybe $750 to $1,000, whatever it was. It was insane, and I was drinking, and I didn't know it, but I was trying to kill myself in a different way, you know. And I had that night where I dropped on my knees. I couldn't break the use. Then there was this night. Then that night where I actually tried to do it. So I'm in my basement. Again, I'm sitting there in my robe. I've run out of blow, and you start crashing. I'm still drinking. I'm like, I can't take another minute of it. I'm going to end it. So I'm like, how am I going to do this? Well, I'm too much of a pussy to shoot myself, and I don't own a gun. So that's out. I'm not going to slit my wrist because that would fucking hurt. I'm not going to do that. So, of course, when you're in an altered state of mind, you just come up with the dumbest shit. So go into my unfinished storage room. And there's excess wires in there. I get one that's draped around one of the low-hanging pieces of wood. So I drape around there. I stand on my like there's a little TV that I had, like a little teeny TV, and so I stood on the TV, and I wrapped this. I took the wire and it was like cabling. It was like coax, I think. I wrapped it around my head and I twist up top, hide it, and I fucking kicked the TV and the fucking thing tightened, broke the wood, bam, hit the fucking ground. On the TV I kicked, I hit my back. I'm fucking my back. So I'm not dead, strung out on blow, I'm drunk, and I'm laying on the floor with my robe open, my big belly hanging out. Well, it wasn't really big at that time, I gotta be honest. But I'm just laying there, I'm naked, I'm floundering, I get up, I'm fucking crying, I can't even kill myself. Life is the worst. I go to the bathroom and I just look at myself, and it was a disturbing picture, to say the least. I'm standing there, stuff's hanging out of my nose, I'm just a mess, you can see it in my eyes. You're a piece of shit, you can't kill yourself, your kids are dead. My whole world was ending right there at that second, that moment. So I called Kristi, and Kristi came home, and I decided to, you know, get a little help. And this isn't where the story ends, but it's where I definitely was cut that off for a while. It wasn't, I didn't get perfect. It took me years to get perfect, but I got better. A friend of mine, Brad Compton, came up to me and he's like, hey man, would you help me coach football? But Brad didn't really know football at the time, so I was like, yeah, I'll help you. So I helped Brad. It was a little C-League team, 3rd and 4th graders. It was fun. Football really started to rescue me, and it is an outlet for me. It's an outlet. It was what Dustin did. I probably pushed him in that direction, but then this kid took it and ran with it. And then I talked to my friend Matt Shank, who at that point said I could come out and help with the Tuscarora freshman team. I was like, oh, awesome. And then, you know, he had some guys leave. He's like, listen, I actually need you to do defense, which is great, which is my wheelhouse anyway. And I'll never ever forget that first practice, and it occurred to me, but it never occurred to me. I'll never forget walking on that field and turning around and realizing that Tuscarora High School field overlooks the accident site where both my kids died. And I see it every single day that I go out there and coach, and it's very apparent to me where that is. I always know where it is. It's always there. It's always part of what's there. And I never forget that first chill and going home and like, I can't do this. I got told Matt, I can't do it. I just can't. I can't go out there and do this every day. But I thought, all right, you know what? You know, you made a commitment. Instead of me rescuing them and me helping these kids, they ended up helping me. But the last year and a half especially has been good. And, you know, I still fought through some things, but the point is I fought through them. And I didn't give up. And I'm never going to give up.